One man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
All right, welcome into the Crypto podcast, where we provide immersive, essential, and evergreen strategies for the novice cryptocurrency investor. How you doing? I'm one half of your host, Boi Crypto. I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host, Crypto Ewok. We have got a great show for you tonight because once again, Richard Hart, the devs, whoever had to do it to us, we have a big piece of news right before we go on air. We literally had V3 announced right before we went on the air, whenever that came out. V4 testnet of PulseChain just announced about, well, not announced, but it seems to be live as about an hour ago. So we got that. We didn't have that planned. It wasn't in the thumbnail, wasn't in the title, and it came out. We've got a lot to talk about tonight, as you can see in the thumbnail. Crypto, Congress, Gary Gensler, SEC. People want Gary out. Is it going to happen? We hope so. We're going to find out in a matter of weeks, I think, probably. But Ewok, I will welcome you in. How you feeling tonight? We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Thanks for the welcome. I'm feeling good. It's, weather is getting nice outside. Lots of reason to be in a good mood. V4, we think it's released. Not an official announcement yet, but seems to be working. And lots of cool stuff.
It does seem to be working. There is also already ratio stuff going on. I saw it look like when it launched, it was just a regular 1-to-1 ratio, and it's already all jacked up because people got in there and started messing around. So, we've got what looks to be testnet version 4 live. Does that excite you? Are you cynical? I don't mean you, Ewok, but to the viewer, does that excite you? Are you just cynical at this point? You don't really care? I understand both ways. So, whatever. I mean, it's something that we're going to get into. If you are here right now and enjoying the stream, we just got to go and hit the like, sub to the channel you're watching on. I am Boi Crypto. That is Crypto Ewok. We do this every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States. But let's get right into it. We got a lot going on. PulseChain V4 will be coming up. Don't worry. We're going to get there for sure. But we really want to tackle some of this crazy stuff that we saw out of Congress this week, because it's been awesome. The SEC, Gary Gensler, in front of the House, and a lot of people really holding him to the flame. So we're going to get there. Starting out with where the market is right now, a healthy pullback, actually, for the first time in some time. We've had just very positive price action on Bitcoin in the greater crypto market for a while now. It's been good month, 2 months or so here at this point, but a nice healthy pullback today. And anybody that is stressed out by this, we're actually under 29K for Bitcoin now. So down towards one of those big support levels at I'm seeing about 28.8 right now, but I'm sure it'll fluctuate. ETH sitting at about 1940, still looking strong. Hex, we're going to get into that price action because it's been crazily violent over the last hour. It went from the low 6s to the low 7s, and now in the middle already again at about 6.8. Yep. So stuff flying all over the place, but a big pullback, not a big pullback, but a modest pullback as far as crypto goes in the market overall over the last 24 hours or so, Ewok. And I want to get your take on this because, if anyone out there, if you have been a bull and you've been excited to get into this market and you've been seeing all of the positive signs over the last few weeks, you should be buying here. I'm not telling you to do that. It's not ever financial advice, folks, but If you're a bull, this should excite you. And I am excited. I'm not going to say to what level or what's going on, maybe at anywhere on my person or anything like that. But I am excited. Definitely want to get some buy orders in. Gas prices in Gwei kind of making that a little bit tough for some things, which we'll get to, I'm sure, too. But Ewok, tell me about this dip. Are you still kind of with me in our, mostly bullish sentiment and that we're in a new cycle and everything? What do you feel about this change in the market, seeing a little bit of red?
Yeah. I mean, mostly bull. Like I had been saying though, corrections and pullbacks are in the game. So, yeah, that gas does make it rough for people that are trying to pick up some hex at some, discounts. It's what it's 65 right now. So it's been pretty rough, and gotta stick with it, wait for a slower time. But yeah, these pullbacks are natural. We talked about it last week a little bit too. There's going to be some corrections that happen anytime things go up like that. They're going to pull back and correct. It's actually healthy and a good thing that it happens. So, the red candle days are the ones that you want to DCA on, and if it goes lower and keeps going a little bit lower, then it's a very good opportunity. We usually do have one final capitulation before things actually take off. And, as we've discussed, that 2023 could be a very sideways, very choppy type year anyway. So, we could see this for months back and forth until we do get that final capitulation candle that goes down. And then it just takes off and there's no looking back. And that's when you can kind of throw a dart at any coin and, make some profits. But, you have to be buying at those levels before you can, realize some of those gains.
Definitely, yes. And we have been saying that as bullish as things have been for the last 4 to 6 weeks or so. Yeah, you're going to get these pullbacks, and it is healthy for sure. This 28 area is again a kind of a catalyst. We talked about that area a lot as far as Bitcoin hitting it on the way up and finding it as support. So now we're testing it. And hey, that may not even be the end of it. And, you got to remember that these things don't just move always violently necessarily. We could see dips to 26 to 25, maybe even 24 again. I'm inclined to think probably not that far below there at any point this year. That's just how I'm feeling right now. But this is definitely a good pullback. So, anything that you're interested in buying out there, certainly got my blessing. I mean, I'm interested in doing so. Which chart do you have up here now? I didn't notice that you. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Bitcoin.
Okay.
No,
So
we're
what are you
just looking
seeing? I
at
mean, what
those
do you think?
levels.
Yeah,
Just
what do you think about that? Yeah.
well, you're right. So it did bounce pretty much the wick down. I mean, you can see the wick down to that level that I drew,
Hmm.
and then it kind of bounced back up. And we'll have to see what happens with this one. You get a couple red candles, and it could trickle down to the 25, right in 25 100 area in this next one. Sometimes these moving averages. So this is the 50 moving average. Sometimes we catch a bounce on there. If it doesn't, this one down here is the 200 moving average, which that's pushing it. I mean, as time goes on, this one will kind of catch up as well.
Yeah.
But things always seem to hit that 200. Like you can see it here,
Yeah,
how
it's
it
uncanny.
came down and it boom bounced right back up. So it often does find that 200-day moving average, and we'll see how it happens. But like I said, as time goes on, this average will come up because of the price rise. It's just a lot longer of a slope because of the 200-day average. You're averaging a lot of days where the 50 is a little bit more concentrated. So, I could see it
Mhm.
bouncing around in here at some point, final capitulation, and then, look out Loretta.
Look out, Loretta. Yeah, and those longer term trend lines are always not longer term in terms of years anyway, but the better part of a year. I mean, are definitely good ones to look out for. And it's a good point that you made there too, Ewok, because for a long time, I'd say up until sometime in March, that key word you just said there, the final capitulation. That had been synonymous, I think, for a lot of people with new lows, new bear market lows. That's out the window for most people, I think, that are rational at this point. And all I mean by that is like, it's not like a feeling thing or anything. It's like we're looking at right here and what you just pointed out, Ewok, like looking at even basic technical analysis like this, the things that are changing on the macro levels and things like that. I think new lows for I don't even think that's anything to talk about now, because I don't think we're in that market anymore. I think it literally would be a black swan event, however you want to define that, for anything like that to happen. Like I said, I think there's a chance we could not go below even 24 again. I almost am certain about around 20. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, either way, it is healthy, like you said, to have these pullbacks. And if you are, wanting to continue to accumulate in this, as we've been saying, year of accumulation in 2023, this is a good time to do it. So,
well, even the 200-day moving average is above 21 at this point. So, it would take a very strong wick to get that underneath there. But the longer we stay in a bullish mentality, the more longs that are going to get placed, the quicker it could drop down, because those longs then get liquidated very fast. And what happens when you liquidate is you have to buy the new position, or you have to buy the old position to fill your liquidation. So, or sell it, I should say. You have to sell it. So it does kind of waterfall and cascade on multiple things happening. If there's a bunch of longs being placed and they happen to get, liquidated out. So.
Yeah, for sure. So, again, let's look at this as a good buying opportunity for sure on all your favorite assets. We've seen a lot of them dropping here, and a good time to buy. And I know I am doing so. So, that's kind of the market update. I want to keep that a little bit more brief tonight, because we've got so many good meaty topics to get into. Remember, in a couple of weeks, if you care, we do have the next FOMC meeting. It's May 2nd and 3rd, or 1st and 2nd, or whatever. So we'll see what they do there. I think we're probably going to get in the maybe final last 25-point rate hike. Who knows? We'll kind of see how things go. But that, keep in mind, that's 2 weeks out. We may see some volatility right around that time as well, just like right now. So, let's shift our attention. So, hey guys, if you are here enjoying the stream so far, hit the like, sub to whatever channel you're watching on. We very much appreciate it. We're going to get into this SEC stuff. So, Twitter was a glorious place yesterday for crypto Twitter. You and I were DMing about it for a lot of the day. It was just I think I said to you, like a highlight reel of Gary Gensler just getting flamed, basically, in Congress. And it was phenomenal. In particular, we had, and I even tried to take note of all these guys' names, because I didn't hear of, well, one of them anyway. But I think he's actually like the commissioner or whatever. Patrick McHenry was the bow tie guy that was kind of challenging him on is ETH a commodity or security?
Right.
Question we could not get answered. We had Warren Davidson, a new guy to me, and I think to you, Ewok, that we haven't talked about before, but representative from Ohio who's trying to oust Gary Gensler and kind of reshape how the SEC is headed up. So we'll get to that. And, of course, our old friend, who I never remember the first name of, Representative Emmer, I believe it's Tom, from Minnesota. Yeah, who's been the guy as far as crypto has gone. So I'm going to kick it over to you. I think you saw pretty much all the videos that I did, if not more. What did you think generally of this? I was actually, and I'll even throw this out there first, because before all of this was taking place yesterday, we were also DMing and seeing the news with Bittrex, which, if you're watching this, I'm going to guess you have not had much experience using Bittrex, the exchange, but Gensler and the SEC went after them. Basically did their same old song and dance where they don't really clearly define what rules are being broken and shut them down. So give me your thoughts on that a little bit, Ewok, on the Bittrex thing, what your experience was with it. I think I also bought some fairy dust of something there a few years ago. And then we'll get into the kind of the more interesting Gensler stuff here.
So Bittrex has been around for a while, very heavily used in the last bull market, I would say. That's when I got an account. And I've since moved everything out of mine. I had some dust in there. Um, the first notice I got was, well, we're removing these tokens, and I think they were Luna and some of the other ones, along with Monero was another coin that they decided to delist and said, if you have these assets, you got to move them out. That went a couple weeks, since they gave you like a month to move it, and then all of a sudden the other day we see something say, well, hey, now we're going out of business. Because the
Right.
SEC decided to send them one of their letters and shut them down. So here we go, yet another exchange getting shut down by the SEC and their weird regulatory, I don't even know what you want to call it at this point. It's just they're on a mission. They're on a mission to shut as many things down as they can, I think. And yeah, so that's about all there really is to talk about with Bittrex. But as for these meetings yesterday, my one hope is that it's not political theater. I
Yeah,
hope
right.
that they don't attack each other in front of the cameras and then they go off and shake each other's hands and laugh about it in the back, in the back rooms. We know how things work and we know how DC is sometimes, and that's kind of what happens often, unfortunately.
Mhm.
So but yeah, I mean, I hope they're serious. I hope that these uh, you know plans of putting a group of people together and getting rid of the just one chairman. When you put the power in one person's hands like that, that's what happens. Things like this, these crazy rules, side deals with SBF, favoritism, things like that. That's how it kind of slides through. When you have a group of people making decisions, you have a better chance of them being fair, thinking about multiple angles, um, and what's best for the regulation of the whole space in general. As long as they're somewhat educated on the space to begin with. So, that just my ask and my hope is that it's not just, like I said, political theater that's taking place. I hope they're on the right path and trying to get some of these guys out of there. So
Yeah, and I concur completely. The political theater thing is the thing that I was thinking as well. And ever since Tom Emmer was really emerging as the pro crypto guy, of the very few politicians that seemingly want to keep this industry in this country instead of pushing it to our biggest enemies, like Gary Gensler is a fan of doing it. I heeded the same caution as you. I was just kind of like, well, is this real? Like, we all should be operating under the idea that politicians are snake oil salesmen. They're lying to us. I mean, I think that's the safest assumption that you could possibly make. I think like that's just being red pilled when it comes to viewing our government. I'm
yep,
sorry. It's not our fault. I'm not really sorry, but yeah, I mean, it's just kind of how you have to look at it, I think. And that's what I choose to do. I will say Tom Emmer definitely seems very educated on the topic,
he
very
does.
impassioned. I'd give him what I don't even know what these goddamn awards are. I almost said Grammy, but that's music. But I would give him an Oscar for his, acting
Yeah,
as far as understanding crypto for sure. Um, he came after Gensler yesterday. Let's start real quick, though, with the McHenry guy, the bow tie guy, because that was the first big one that really made waves on Twitter. And it's
right.
because very plainly, point blank, over and over, at least I want to say 4 times, maybe like 6 plus, he had asked, is Ethereum a security or commodity?
Yep.
And he is not, stating whether he is in favor of one side or the other. It's not about like what's going to benefit who or anything like that. It's just
It's a
clarity.
question. Yep.
Yeah, and wanting clarity. Like this is your organization. You don't provide. You're trying to protect everybody, but you don't even provide definitions anybody can
Yeah.
understand, and you literally do not even answer the question to
Right.
provide that clarity. So who are you protecting?
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you see that, and you hear a lot of these guys that are trying to start a business, or they've attempted to do things by the book, right way. They submit their paperwork, and they never hear anything back. It's ridiculous. It's a circus. Um, Speaking of clarity, and then they don't have any, so they just proceed with, whatever. And at that point, they say, we would rather take the fine than to just wait around. They make enough money and to cover the fines, so why not at that point? Like I said, you said it too. It's the clarity of all of it. They ask questions and they dance around it. They don't want to give an answer because it could corner them into one thing or another. And I think, that's what they're afraid of. They asked about Ripple, and he's like, oh, well, we can't discuss that because that's ongoing right now.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, the guy asked about Ethereum, I don't know, you're right, 4 times at least that I remember too. And he danced around it. He wouldn't say one way or the other. But he has said that Bitcoin is not a security. So I really think the changing from proof of work to proof of stake has kind of made them walk that fine line now, whether they don't want to say, because I know they are going after proof of stake things a lot, and any kind of staking mechanism. So, that's one thing that Richard has, like I said, he's usually been a couple steps ahead. And wanting to change it, well, we're not staking anymore. We're actually mining. So, for that reason. So, yeah, it's just they've got to get on one page. They've got to make decisions, and they're just afraid to do that.
They're definitely afraid to do it, and it was just an embarrassment, I think, for Gensler. I mean, like, and even like I saw people pointing out like how he was literally shaking at answering the question. Like you could see how nervous he was and everything. It's just, if he didn't cause so much, unclarity and pain to people, I would say that I feel bad for him, because there's no way that guy is happy at the end of the day. I mean, the level of stress and to just live a lie like that, I don't know. It must be difficult, but hey, he's hurting other people a lot more than himself. So, I want to ask you this. So, looking at some of the other people. So, okay, I want to talk about this Warren Davidson. So, this guy's out of Ohio, Republican, of course, because what Democrat is going to support crypto? And I saw BitBoy say this the other day, who I'm not a fan of his theater either, to be honest. I'm just sick of him, and it's just kind of a me thing, I think. But he was talking about, this crypto shouldn't be bipartisan, but Democrats have made it bipartisan. And I agree, it shouldn't be bipartisan, but everything is partisan now in this world, and plain and simple, people on the right side of the aisle have said the things that show they're more in favor of freedom generally in terms of crypto, and people on the left, surprisingly, aren't. So that's just kind of where we are. So these guys obviously are all going to be Republicans, but Warren Davidson out of Ohio was the latest to say and bring up what you just alluded to, Ewok, was this idea of ousting Gary Gensler. And I like this idea. It's not just about sacking Gensler because he's bad for everybody, but it's also about a whole new setup to make more of a panel that somebody reports to and not some singular entity, Mr. Burns, that, makes all the calls. So, yeah, what do you think of that? He's introducing some kind of legislation on it. I don't know if it will actually have any legs. I have no idea how far this could really go. But there is one thing is clear, regardless of anything now, I mean, we're a see and react and quick, get it in front of me and watch these quick videos. Like, that's just where we're all at now. And regardless of this legislation, everybody saw Gensler looking the way he looked and not answering questions and looking like shit, basically, on Twitter and all these other platforms yesterday. It's bad. It's really bad. It looks really bad. And I could definitely see him being out of a job in a matter of months, to be honest. I mean, it just looks really, really bad. So what do you think about this? What do you think about that proposition, though, by Warren Davidson?
Well, I like it. Like I said earlier, I think it makes a lot more sense. You have a lot less collusion that way with one entity getting in with somebody like Gensler. I think we talked about this months ago when FTX went down, how Gensler was tied in with Caroline's dad from MIT. So we know there was favoritism there. It just eliminates a lot of that. When you get a board of several people making decisions, usually there's a lot more thought put into it. You don't have one iron fist ruler who a lot of times just, in Gensler's case, doesn't make sense. They're leaving things legal ease to allow future, you know, restrictions and different ways to shut things off that they may not like, or that they can't get their grubby little fingers into, with taxes or whatever it might be. So they do leave a lot of open-ended things, and that's one of the reasons why, like I said, I don't think he answers a lot of questions, because he doesn't want to paint himself into a corner
Yeah.
um, for future whatever rulings that they might want to have. That's just I do like the idea. I like the idea of getting him out of there as quickly as possible too, and get this rolling now with the with everything being Republican controlled at this point. I think that could possibly go through.
Not
I think,
everything. The
well,
House is
not
anyway. Yeah.
well, yeah, the House, but
Yeah.
I believe they're the ones that propose this stuff, right?
Yeah. I
So,
believe so. We need a
you know,
civics lesson. Yeah.
yeah. I just it's all a show half the time anyway. So, but anyway, I digress.
But yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where that goes. And then, of course, the other main character in this that's on our thumbnail is Tom Emmer. Like we mentioned, he's out of Minnesota. Really attacked Gensler, obviously, brought up the FTX stuff, challenged him on how many times he met with Sam Bankman-Fried, and to which Gensler said, two public records of me meeting with him. So, in other words, you've met with him more than that.
Right.
And Tom Emmer referred to Gensler as an incompetent cop on the beat, which is a pretty funny line,
Yeah.
and driving crypto out of the US. And that's the main concern here is
Yeah.
without, we don't want to speak on things that we're not as educated on. I don't believe in doing that. I think people look dumb when they do that, frankly. But we do know that there's a lot of politicians, mainly on the left in the last few years, that are stifling innovation, stifling free speech. And you don't want an innovation like crypto, which, again, should not be partisan at all. It's for the sovereign individual. And, people have to wake up and see that. But you do not want something like that pushed to these other countries,
No.
where they're all, again, ahead of us,
Yeah. I mean, he brought up China. He's like, people
Yes.
are going to China because of the mistakes that we've made. So yeah, I mean, that's one of our biggest competitors as far as technology anyway. You give them this and it's terrible for any kind of adoption and any kind of growth. It would be like shutting down websites before the .com bubble kind of started to take off. you know
Mhm.
it reeks of just dangerous precedents that could be set that we don't want to see that at all.
I agree. And yeah, I mean, yeah, in terms of driving, I had another point with driving crypto out of the US, but yeah, you don't want to see that happen. You would hope that our country would be a bastion of. So, oh, I know what I was going to say. The Brian Armstrong Coinbase, and I don't know if you saw this, but the headline I don't think totally matched what they were talking about, but they were exploring options abroad
Yeah,
and looking at moving some of their stuff out of here because, yeah, why not? I mean, like, I mean, how many people do you see too? I mean, people that have really made it in crypto that are, fully retired, living off crypto, have no need to ever work again, living elsewhere or looking into living elsewhere just because of the tax code,
right.
the increasing just fear. Not that those people have to worry about, like, if you say the wrong thing at the job you work at, but just those kind of things as well. But mainly taxes, the pickpocketing and the not being left alone,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, you've got a lot of people at this point moving to Puerto Rico for the
Mhm.
for the tax haven, but yeah, now you're going to see people just leaving the country and
Right.
going to places, money always goes where it's treated best. It's always been the case, and it forever will be the case. And if they don't start treating it right, and embracing it rather than pushing it away, they're going to lose it all. So if Coinbase leaves the United States, look out. I mean, that could be a
Right.
disaster.
Which, to be clear, I don't think that is something that's actually in the plans. But I do think they're looking into resources elsewhere, which they definitely should be doing as long as they don't get the support here. And all we can do is, like you said, Ewok. I mean, like we have to operate from a cynical viewpoint when it comes to viewing our politicians. That's just the way it is because
Yeah.
they've made their own bed. But it's inspiring, hopefully, and I'm cautiously optimistic that there are people within Congress that sincerely are trying to back crypto here. And yeah, I think Tom Emmer is one of them, and I think Warren Davidson has shown himself to be one as well. So
Yeah, there's a
um,
couple. There's a couple. What's the guy from Texas? He's even like
Ted
surprisingly.
Cruz,
Ted Cruz has even supported somewhat. So,
yeah, I've
lately,
heard that. I tend not to believe much of what he
yeah,
says, but yeah, I have heard what he said before. Yeah,
just there's a few of them out there. So, hopefully we can plant the bug and pass the good word that this is a good thing. Let's embrace it, and we can actually, if we do it right, taxing it would be an option. Otherwise, people are going to leave the country. We're not going to get any of it. If they want to look
right.
at it at least that way, um,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
it could be major financial gains for the country that they would just be throwing out the window. So,
Yeah. And like Tom Emmer, I heard say a couple of weeks ago on a Bankless podcast when he was a guest, he, said elections have consequences, and that's a good thing to remember. So,
yep,
vote for the side you feel like is offering you more freedom. So we're going to transition out of this, but the Gensler stuff was definitely fun. If you haven't seen some of the clips, just hit up Twitter and just type in Gensler and have some fun. If you are here and enjoying the stream, hit the like. We very much appreciate it. We're going to get into some Hex and PulseChain version testnet. Version 4 is now live. No real official announcement. It just appears to be live. And we're going to get into it. But, I already kind of feel like I don't know. This just happened again, like an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. So we're kind of reacting to it and seeing how other people are reacting to it. But some of the pre-written stuff regarding Hex that I did have written down that I still do want to talk about here, because this isn't mainnet. This is still a test net, and it's still the fourth test net, which has been frustrating people, not you or I or anybody who's not over leveraged or anything. But some people have sand where it shouldn't be, and they've been upset by this. So what I was going to talk about, and I still will because it happened, is I've just been generally noticing like a lot more negative Hex comments on some of our videos and stuff like that. Like, when we're just talking, speculating about PulseChain or talking about Hex or whatever it may be, just people, RH is going to jail, and he's a liar, and it's never going to come out, and all this stuff. Like, and I guess that's just something that's going to happen the longer that something takes.
yeah,
And the fact that at that time, up until now, version 4 of the testnet was not out yet. Honestly, and earmuffs, kids, Crypto 7, if you're watching, turn it off. Zen has been pumping, and that's ignited for some people who are weak in the knees at the sight of anything other than their favorite token to, get their panties in the bunch again. So there's been a lot of like, oh, Zen's pumping, Hex is going down, and it reminded me of like December again. It was just like, dude, are you guys really this short-sighted? To like, oh, okay, now we're under 7 cents again, and the next test net isn't out yet. It's just like, I wonder if these people have ever invested in anything. Like, have you ever invested in the stock market where you get like pretty much no returns and things are extremely slow moving? I don't know if it's because like Hex, along with everything else, is like 85% plus down still. I don't know what it is, but like, what's your main, what do you think has led to this increased negativity? The price has been going down, screaming buy opportunity. If you're not buying under 7 cents right now, what are you doing? But yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Ewok? Is it just, the actual main net not being out yet?
I think it's that. I think it's the combination of people just tired of waiting. I think they don't have faith. But this is all cyclical. When the people start to cry the loudest, uh, it always tends to just turn around on them and they get left behind. So it's pretty funny how it does work that way. When you get people crying the hardest is when, you know, something little happens and they don't take advantage of it, and then it just rockets away from them. So I think, yeah, I mean, as Pepper Rock here said, July 15th, it'll be 2 years. Now
Mm,
that was the start of the pulse chain sacrifice. So you can't really count that, because what did you expect sacrifice to be over and have a product?
true.
You know,
Yeah.
we knew that wasn't going to happen. But you know, mid May it will be a year since the first mid May announcement that we had that kind of fell through. But you know, since then a lot of things have happened. You know, we've went away from forking Binance Smart Chain back to Ethereum. Then you know the merge happened, and you know now we've had some the Shanghai release. So there's been a lot of things that are playing into this. And don't forget that, you know, Richard still could be timing a lot of things with the market. He doesn't feel that final capitulation has happened. You know, he's pretty good at reading the charts and knowing when those will take place. So to get a proper launch at the pretty much bottom, he's no dummy. So you know, I ignore the haters. I do see a lot more. I see what you're talking about, though.
Mhm.
More and more haters, more and more just negative comments. Um, I just laugh them off. I just skip right by them anymore. I used to say my 2 cents when I would see them occasionally, but I don't even give it any time. Usually, I just either mute or block the person anymore, because you know ain't nobody got time for that.
Well, they're losers. I mean, like they
Well,
have
yeah,
bottom line, they have a loser mentality. Like you know, if you own Hex and you understand what that smart contract is and that you can stake it, mine it for up to 15 years, um, what in the hell are you doing
right.
complaining about something? I just don't even.
Oh, and one more thing, a lot of these people, you know, I look at them, I look at their followers, and they may have 10,
Yeah,
17, something like that. And if anybody has under, you know, 200 followers or whatever, I really just don't even pay it any mind anymore. You know, if it's over that, then I look at what they're saying. I go back, I look at their profile and see how negative they've been. If sometimes people are just always unhappy,
right.
and they're
That's what I meant.
keyboard
Yeah,
warriors, and this will bring out that type of person. You know, when the price is up, everybody's happy, and all that negative stuff kind of gets pushed under the rug with all the positivity that you see. You know, and unfortunately, right now there isn't a whole lot of positivity. We're waiting. You know, we're playing that waiting game. People are just being content waiting. Well, most people, and happy that they're doing things right. But this gives the naysayers and you know the negative Nancy's a chance to be heard, kind of because there isn't a whole lot going on. So I think
hmm,
that's why we see more of it. But again, I just pay it no mind, move on. We know we know what's going to happen, and well, you know, we don't have a crystal ball, but you know, we can clearly see that this is going to explode here when it happens. So
right. Yeah, you got to stay long and strong. You know, there's a reason it's difficult and that nobody can do it. I
yeah,
mean, you know, people. That's the biggest mistake with some people, whether it's like in business or investing or whatever. Most people cannot take the wait. They just cannot wait long enough to see something through. So, if you are here and never left, despite everything that happened in 2022, in some way or another, you're going to win eventually.
yep.
So,
Hats off to you.
exactly. Keep that in mind. And I do want to transition, or we're still going to stay on this topic, but you just alluded to exactly what I wanted to bring up, Ewok. An interesting comment that I have been seeing amongst all these, because you just mentioned about Richard, you know, having market timing and things like that. It's funny you say that because a lot of the comments that I've been seeing have been, if Pulse Chain is going to be so amazing, why does it matter when it comes out? And why would he be timing the market? I even saw a comment that specifically said Jeff Bezos didn't have to do that with Amazon. Like, if the product is so great. And my immediate response to that is okay. Number one, those two things that's just not even a valid argument. I mean, like comparing like a real world, 25, 30 years ago product compared to a blockchain in 2023, I just don't think that's comparable. But
No.
we're talking about crypto cycles here, which are not exactly, if you haven't noticed, for the faint of heart. They move and they're volatile. Why would you not want the most optimal release that you could
Right.
possibly get? I mean,
Yeah.
yes, I do agree. Yeah, if it's so amazing, blah, blah, blah. I understand that. And yes. But why not put the cherry on top
Mhm.
and release with the wind in your sails, like we've talked about before? So, what would your response be to that? Just, that if PulseChain's so great, hey, you could have launched it when FTX was up in flames, which, my God, that'd be terrible. Like,
Right.
why?
Well, this is going to launch at zero. Don't forget that. So the
Hmm.
gains are going to be pretty spectacular. I think there will be a price point pretty quickly. You could see it go up, and then we'll have that capitulation. But if the markets are strong, there is a lot more upside than there is downside. So it helps the market overall. Richard has always bragged about the chart, the 10,000x from the bottom. He likes that. He likes the clout that goes with it. He's not going to release something if things are still going down. He also wants the people that don't believe to sell. The
Yeah.
longer he waits, the more the lettuce hands are weeded out, and they get rid of it, and can't. They may have to buy in higher. That's one of the things that you know I like about it is you're seeing a lot of people get fudded out, and
Hmm.
those are people that can't sell what they have later. So I like that, and yeah, I mean, why not release at an optimal time? It makes sense. So yeah, the people that are saying these things, like I said, they're usually just negative. They don't understand the cycles themselves, and they don't understand what Richard has been all about this whole time. He's in this for the glory. He wants the best looking charts. He wants the best product. He's not going to sacrifice putting it out early just to keep people happy. It needs to be right. It needs to be done, and he will brag about it after the fact. I guarantee it.
Oh, he'll definitely brag about it. Yeah. And I agree with you. Yeah. Like those little factoids that he throws out about like how well Hex has performed.
Yeah.
That's really his pride and joy
Yeah.
because everything in crypto goes down. We look at like all these failure blockchains that are failing all the time and are pumping dumps in one cycle and they're gone and stuff. And he wants to create stuff that is the antithesis of that. And it's so convenient that many of the big influencer channels want to censor that, don't acknowledge Hex, don't acknowledge PulseChain. Eventually, they will capitulate, obviously, and they won't have a choice. But it's just interesting that it goes that way. The
Yeah.
stuff that's actually the best is more gate kept. Um, I want to ask you because this negative price action on Hex, even now that we have seen the V4 release. I mean, we're really not out far enough to say anything fair, I don't think, about the price right now, but it did pump up almost a full penny over the last couple hours and is sitting right under 7 cents from what I'm looking at right now. Again, to me, as long as it's been below 8 cents anyway, and especially below 7, I've been wanting to buy. But like I've said to you, I have been holding off because of gas prices,
Gas
because of
fees.
what Gwei has been right now. And
Yeah.
I DM'd you earlier, and I was going to buy some over the weekend, and I even kind of scoffed when I saw Gwei was at 27. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna wait for like something under 20 one of these nights here soon. I don't think I've seen under 50 since then, and probably on average when I refresh, it's like been 65, 70. I saw it up over 100 multiple times today. I
Yeah.
think you probably just refreshed. I am
Here's
too.
the chart
Oh,
of
there you
the.
go. Yeah,
So I use this page a lot. This is Hex.vision.
nice.
They have a gas page, gas prices page on there, and they graph it out how it's been, and you can see, this was early, 2 a.m. would have been 10 p.m. our time last night. It
Hmm.
got down to 42, but that's about as low as it's gone.
Wow.
it's crazy, and even right now it's 51. So it is
Yeah,
kind
so
of
we're
headed
almost there.
back down a little bit, but who I haven't even really looked to see what's consuming all the gas. The Gwei. I have no idea.
I haven't either. I
So,
know you threw the idea. You were hating on the Zen boys and said it was Zen earlier
I
today.
was kidding.
I know, I'm just kidding. But I honestly don't know. I have no idea because it's really. I mean, yeah, we're not like in the throes of the bear market anymore, but this is out of character. I mean, this is like very high the last couple of days. So, um,
I'm
I,
looking to see if I can find. I think it's on Etherscan. If you
yeah, it probably is.
let's see.
Oh, I'm just looking at some of the recent transactions. I'll let you look and then you tell us. But what I was going to say is like what my strategy tends to be in times like this is when I want to buy a bag of hex at the price that it's at, and I'm combating these gas prices. I just try to, any spare change I can find over the course of the next few weeks. I just try to make one bigger buy order because I'm not really a fan of
Yeah,
like spending, more money. And you got to remember right now too that anything, as long as we are at these levels with Hex, I mean, this is true anytime before PulseChain, but remember, you're not just getting it at the price you're getting it at an 85% discount or whatever. You're also getting a copy on PulseChain.
yep.
There's just a lot of incentive to getting Hex at the depressed prices that it's at still right now. It's, I think, the best buy you could possibly make. So yeah, I'm just trying to get some more spare change, dry powder together. Did you find out what it is? I saw something
N-
about, I don't know,
no,
some
I
Lido
haven't.
transactions, but
Yeah, I thought there was a thing on here that was like gas or resources
gas
charts.
guzzlers or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't
Um,
see top statistics.
I'll see if
Dex.
I can find it. I actually, believe it or not, I think there is something also on that one Zen website. I forget what the actual address of it is, but I'll check and see. I think it actually does have like the activity on Etherscan or on
Yeah,
ETH on
here's
there.
a
So,
top statistics Dex activity. Uh, well, it just looks like Uniswap.
hmm.
921,000 transactions. That's in the last 7 days, though.
Oh, okay.
So, but
Well,
still, that's almost almost a million transactions in the last 7 days. That's still pretty
it's a lot
active,
of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, hey, I mean, this is another reason, like we're sitting here talking about PulseChain. This is the reason that Richard Hart wanted to create this, obviously. Like here we are, or I am at least anyway, and probably others hesitant to buy Hex because of where gas prices are right now.
Yeah.
And, I know you can speak to this, Ewok, but your experiences with having to unstake in the Uber parts of the bull market.
Yeah.
I heard
That
Coffee
was
talking about it the other day too.
Yeah, that was pretty rough. There were, when Hex launched, didn't have any idea. All we really heard was Hex is designed to 10,000x in under 2.5 years. So a lot of us set some stakes for 2.5 years, right? Because
Hmm.
just in case, well, when that 2.5 years happened was the height of the bull market, gas fees were crazy. Some of my stakes from the early days that were just for that long were $1,400 to unstake. So $1,400 worth of Ethereum at that point was crazy, and it wasn't
Right.
just one; there were several. So, and if you don't unstake them at that point, when you said it was, that you wanted to, then they bleed out. So, you had to. Some of them were small. Some of them were, again, I didn't know what I was doing at the beginning. Some of them were for 1,000 hex or 5,000 hex, which weren't really, that profitable at that point. So you had to really weigh the option of, was it profitable enough to unstake? And then you kind of just had to think about, well, what's going to happen in 5 years? Um, do I take the loss now to get those and the yield? Hopefully it will be worth it in the next cycle. So that's the decision that I had to make, and yeah, spent quite a bit of money. I think it was over $18,000 in 2022 in
Wow.
just
It's crazy.
unstaking fees. So, and gas
Wow.
fees alone. But
Yeah. Well,
part of
that
part of
is
doing business, right?
part of doing business, and it's not like you weren't in profit anyway, so that's good.
Right.
But it
Right.
is a good reason the pulse chain is coming. So
Yes.
let's, I don't know how much there's going to really be to talk about here. It's not like you and I have really had lots of time to delve into it, and I can't imagine there's like tons of new stuff. But what are your general thoughts on testnet v4 now actually being publicly available? I will say it was pretty quickly publicly available after it was privately up and running. So what do you make of it? I mean, up until the last updates that you knew, what tweaks maybe still needed to be made, if any? What do you make of this? I mean, like how many versions do you think we're going to get? What's your overall idea of this?
Well, I do think V4 will be the last. I hope, but if it's not, then there's a good reason for it. We still haven't seen an official announcement from RH. So
No, no.
but we're seeing all. I'm looking on Twitter right now. I'm seeing all these different people that are listing the, all the, where is it at here? Yeah, all the different statistics for it, and yeah, looks like it's live as far as the block explorer, all of those. So as far as updates go, I don't think there was a whole lot added to V4 other than they did fix the mechanism for the validators. Um, I know when they were testing it originally, they didn't like the payout, right? So they want to encourage people to be a validator, and run and operate a node, right? The more people that we have, the more secure the network is, the better it is. And he didn't like the payout structure. It wasn't providing enough resources. So that did require a hard fork, and that is why we got V4, one of the big things. And then as they were doing that, Shanghai launched as well. Now that is an EIP, so it can be added without a fork. I'm pretty sure. I think a soft fork is all you really need to introduce that into the code. So I don't think they would have to do a complete hard fork and another V5. But that was the main update that was done, and that's what they wanted to take care of. Now that they're paying out better to the validators and showing some better numbers, then I think this should be it. We'll see if there's any other smaller updates, but the other update could be to PulseX. But again, that's a separate thing, right? That's a different code that can be launched on PulseChain. So yeah, I really see this as being one of the very last updates that there are. And again, he's not giving any warning, so it could be, who knows, a couple weeks if this runs flawlessly, we get PulseChain, and he said he wasn't going to give any more warnings. So we'll see what happens. You're muted. You're muted.
My bad. I
There you
just saw
go.
a tweet from a hexologist a few minutes ago that said, "Imagine the V4 that was just released is actually PulseChain mainnet," which would be pretty funny.
I've heard a lot of people saying that too, and I
Yeah.
really just don't think that's going to be the case for the
Nah.
main reason of the validator updates. But yeah, I was seeing a lot of that, and everyone kept saying, "What if this is it? What if this is it?" He doesn't want to tell people because he thinks that they'll game the system, and yeah, I don't
I
think
wouldn't
V.
be totally against it. I
Well,
mean,
I mean, I
I
wouldn't
would
be against it. But I would be surprised though.
I would be surprised. But honestly, like, would you though? Like, I mean, I'd be surprised, but I think in retrospect, I'd be like, well, that was cagey. You know what I mean? Like that's if you wanted to throw people off, you definitely did.
Yeah,
But just everybody in there, I don't know. It's literally labeled like test version. If they're actually in there just, going
right.
crazy with ratio trading, thinking it isn't real.
And
I
one
mean,
of the yeah, see, that's another thing too. You're gonna have people that are fucking around in there that are losing money, um, which I know he doesn't want to do, but I'm pretty sure that they already reserved the number. Um, for the there actually Johnny just showed up and said the same thing that I was thinking. RPC
Mm.
369 is reserved for mainnet. So
Oh,
I
okay.
think we're
Okay.
at 943 for this testnet version. I believe it was 943.
I just
Um,
saw the Huddle Dog tweeted out what it was. I'll
yeah,
check it, but I didn't realize that, so that's cool.
but
Um,
so Johnny, are you saying May launch or May launch?
I think I don't know. I think he's saying May launch, not
Yeah,
May launch. Um,
or
if you
he's
can
a
decipher that.
playing on he's playing on words maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I was trying to check this damn RPC. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure it's
943. You're right. Yeah,
943 is the new one, but yeah, 369 is the reserved one for mainnet. So we do know that at least.
there you go.
Won't go over.
Good stuff from Johnny.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so there you go. I mean, like, it's going to be interesting either way. Yeah, whenever the actual launch happens here, but I saw somebody tweet earlier. This could very easily be it, and just a couple of more weeks from now. But obviously, that's what people have been saying forever. So,
Yeah.
I'm ready for anything, and I think that's the same attitude that everybody should be carrying, really.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I still think mid-May. The original last year's estimate of mid-May could very well play out. I don't know if you saw the
yeah,
meme with Richard and Hexo where he says, "I thought you said mid-May," and he says, "Always has been." Like with
yeah,
the,
right.
have you seen that? That's pretty
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. May is May. That's all we
Yeah.
knew. So, yeah. So I guess that really covers everything we need to talk about with V4. Again, just like last time with V3. I mean, we're only a couple hours removed from this happening, so there's not tons and tons of to react to. But I'm sure in the coming days we will see more. But let's finish off with this. And if you guys are still here and enjoying the stream, hit the like. We appreciate you stopping in and chatting it up with us. We've pushed this topic off, well, for a week anyway, because we just went so long last week. But I find it to be really interesting, and it's something that we do need to prepare ourselves for. Like, we are not in, the heated up portion of a bull market yet. I think we've got at least a year to a year and a half before we're really feeling those vibes. But things are better. We're in this accumulation year of 2023. And Ewok and I were talking about this concept. This is a good evergreen conversation. So this is what pisses me off sometimes about my channel and creating content on YouTube is the stuff that actually is the good meat that you want people to watch, that is good, like I said, good evergreen strategy that would interest me, is not the stuff they really care about. They just want to see a thumbnail that says hex to $1.80. It's just, this is not the stuff that they want to see. But I'm telling you, this is what you want to pay attention to. So the psychology of these two things. So we just came out of a horrendous bear market where all we did was talk about how difficult it is psychologically to buy the lows. It doesn't feel good. It feels nasty. It feels scary. You feel like you're buying a falling knife, and you don't want it to go lower right after you buy. And just the psychology behind that. And, we've talked a lot about the emotions you need to overcome to do that. But what we haven't talked a lot about, and what Ewok admitted, and I will definitely admit as well, that it's actually way tougher for him, as well as me, to sell and the euphoria. Like that psychology, the difference between I get excited by lower prices to buy. It's not hard for me to buy the dip. I can easily get into that headspace. But why is that psychology so different than when things are at a fever pitch? We've got Matt Damon, commercials again. We've got Heinz Field in Pittsburgh for the Steelers being renamed. We'll say
Sure.
Coinbase, whatever. I don't know. Stuff like that. When we're at the fever pitch, why is it so hard to sell? And I'd like to hear your experiences with it, Ewok. And you even said right now, as a veteran of this market and multiple cycles, it is still hard for you. So talk a
Yeah.
little bit about how you overcome that and what your strategies are.
So I think so. FOMO is a real thing, right? And when prices are going up, it's still the fear of missing out of it going higher. Um, but we all know that every cycle has pullbacks. I think when Hex first started, there were so many people saying that this coin could just run forever and do something totally opposite from what other coins are doing. Well, now we know that that's not the case. And when there is a bear market, it's going to react like other coins do. Um, I think it could slow down the trajectory of, the dips a lot faster. But we still know that hex is a pretty special thing because it makes more of your hex. And selling that at any time is tough for me, let alone when you think it's going to go higher. It's just one of those things that no matter what I've been involved in, I've always had trouble getting rid of or taking profits at the top. And I've always ended up riding it all the way back down. But now that we're in the product of Hex, it's a little different. I don't mind riding it back down because I know it's coming back on the next cycle. For some of these other things that I was in and rode those down, they never came back. So, you learn those lessons the hard way. But here we are again with a different thing. And yeah, it's just really hard for me to separate. I know we've got a money printer essentially, and at some point though, you do need to take a little bit of profit at the top, and even just put it aside because it will pull back. And when that happens, then you can get more of that thing. Now, staking, it kind of prevents you from doing that, right? So you can't take too much profit if you're fully staked. Only the ones that are the trader mentality get to sacrifice that for not staking, right? They have the luxury of having liquid, but I don't really call it a luxury. I think it's, I would rather make more of what I've got and occasionally peel a little bit of interest off, restake, and cash out along the way. I think, I haven't done a whole lot of that since, a little bit here and there, but nothing major. But yeah, this it really just messes with you knowing that it could go a lot higher, and you're giving away pennies for dollars eventually. It's tough. So, what do you? I guess what strategy are you going to employ? I could possibly change until we get there, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think that people need to be really conscious about taking profits. And, not that, we're certainly not here just for like piddly gains. You don't just want to sell on like a 2x or 3x. And when I say that, I'm saying sell like the whole bag of whatever token you're invested in. I don't think there's any issue with on the way up here and there scalping some off the top because this is such a volatile market. Like, for example, now hindsight's 2020. I'm just giving a recent example with Hex that you could have done, but whenever it ran the whole way up to 12, almost 13 cents, we were live on the air because I think that was probably the last testnet announcement. If you would have sold into that or sold over 10 cents with an anticipation to buy back lower again, maybe when we retested 7 or 8 or something like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but you have to decide that can't be a whim type thing. That can't be like, you need to know the areas on the chart where there's resistance beforehand. Like for everything I'm invested in right now, I have, since we're so far off of all-time highs, everything marked down, like all the support points. So I know like an environment to sell into that could be conducive to me. But you also want to know, like, I'm not selling my whole bag when I do that or anything. That might just be like a little bit, again, of de-risking temporarily. When you do that, are you doing it with just your original principal, maybe that you bought on? Are you doing it with 20% of whatever the bag is? I can't tell you that. Only you can decide how that's going to work for you. But again, have the plan ready. Like you have to have it literally like written down, knowing what you're going to do on the way up as the price ladders up there. So I do think it's imperative to take profits on the way up. But remember, again, this is all up to you, but are you here to like get some quick gains, or are you here to like totally change your life? Because if that's what you're trying to do, I mean, hodl, you just gotta wait until we're at the top of the next market. And again, with Hex, because it's a special thing, the one thing you didn't quite say, Ewok, that I thought you were going to say, I mean, yeah, it is a money printer, but that's the other reason that on the way down or before it's going to go back down, maybe you're not feeling as aggressive about selling because you know that you're getting, 15 to 40-ish% APY or something like that
Yeah.
on whatever your stake may be. So it does soften that blow. Trust me, if you ever have had anything staked, and I'm like, even like my Polkadot that I hold in the Fearless wallet, like just seeing those free tokens build up on the side is definitely a help when the prices are going down.
Yeah.
But you've got to have a plan in the beginning. And with Hex, I know you are somebody, Ewok, who's like totally staked out. I know there's a lot of hexicans out there that are like 90+% of their portfolio is staked out. I am not one of them. I'm more like 50-50 type of strategy. And that is because I do want to have flexibility like that towards the top. It has nothing to do with like not believing in Hex or anything like that. It's just purely hedging my bets. I'm earning an APY on one of them, and I know that this market is volatile. I fully expect Hex to come back in this bull cycle and the next bull cycle and all that. But I'd like to be able to play it in a couple of different ways. And it's not just Hex. It's like my other crypto holdings as well. So yeah, for me, the biggest thing is no matter what, figure out what your different plan possibilities are and absolutely have one in advance and follow it, or you are going to get wrecked. Like you're going to make a bad decision.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
the
psychology will do that to you, and you'll make decisions that are just on a whim, instead of thinking it through. So yeah, I mean, like you said, you should definitely have a plan. My plan is to, as they come out, decide then what I want to do. If I want to take some profit, I can. If I want to restake all of it and wait till the next month, I can do that too. So, again, it's good to have options, and I really want to set up for my kids generational wealth more than anything. Um, I'm not so worried about myself. I want to have some nicer things. Get a
You got a
something.
Lambo out before you give anything to the kids. I mean,
Well,
come on,
yeah,
who are
yeah.
we kidding
Well,
here?
I did buy a
Yeah,
new truck. Come on, give me a break.
there you go. Honestly, dude, you know what? Well, I don't want to get sidetracked with that yet. I think Lambos are a bit overrated. I
Yeah,
think Lambos are overrated. It's kind of clownish to me. I don't
yeah.
know. I'm not really that into it, but
I think I
um,
would rent one before I bought one, because if you've ever had to take it in and get new tires or have an oil change,
right,
um, you get serious at that point, because you're talking several $1,000 oil change. It's
right.
not a fun time at the dealership.
Plus, there's other fast cars out there that just don't look as clowny. I just
Yeah,
don't want to look. I don't know. I just think they're a little bit much. But
yeah,
anyway, yeah, yeah. You want that generational wealth, and like if that's you and that's where you are, don't wuss out and be taking profits earlier than you should be. But honestly, I think people that are really hard into crypto are probably more guilty of what we are talking about here, and that's not taking profits or not having a plan in place. So remember to do it. Obviously you and I were never invested in Terra Luna, but there are Terra Lunas of the world that will come around every bull cycle. Maybe not something exactly like that. And if you stray into something like that, I mean, there were many reasons that both of us weren't invested in that. I mean, I looked deep into it. I liked certain aspects of it, but ultimately decided never to put anything there. And I'm thankful for that. But, I don't know, maybe I just as easily could have. But that's a reason to make sure to take profits when something is running hot. There are people that didn't in that and their lives were ruined. I mean,
yeah,
I would argue that they made an even dumber decision before that by putting like as much as they did into it if it really ruined their lives. But
yeah. Well,
yeah,
it's
you
the
have to
old
have a strategy.
pennies in front of freight trains. Like
Yeah.
luckily we've been in the Richard Hart camp, and when you preach the things that he does, the first principles of do not give your money to middlemen, it doesn't work out well. It it never works out well. So luckily I'd never even looked at it. So I'm thankful for that. And yeah, what we have here, I've said it many times. I'll say it again. Hex is special. It does things that other coins don't do. Now there are some other ones out there, like you said. I know you've got what is it, Polkadot, that trustlessly gives you interest as well.
Yeah.
But I my bags are packed, so I really don't have the need to go looking for something new. And for me, it goes back to what we were saying. I even have a hard time selling when it is high. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm glad I'm staked out, and I only get that opportunity when it comes along, and I don't have to make that decision. So it's pretty easy now for me in that sense.
Yeah, and maybe this is another good topic to table for another night too, but like you were just talking about like what else I'm invested in too. And it's really not very much. I mean, like I literally think I have like maybe 5 tokens, and I think that is another good topic is like where I actually made a couple of videos about this on the channel, but that diversity might be kind of a myth, like spreading out. I actually think that's the dumbest thing you can do in crypto is like you look at some of these influencer portfolios or I know the Paul Barron network, if anybody has ever watched any of his stuff, he actually interviewed Richard Hart a few months ago, but and I'm not dissing him. I don't know what he actually holds, but he will have these like 40-minute videos about like if you wanted to have the optimal GameFi portfolio and it's got like 20 tokens. And I'm like, I mean, that is not good. I mean, that's
No,
not going to lead you anywhere other than the poorhouse because like you're never going to be able to keep track of it. There's going to be all these different types of wallets. GameFi is just not that sturdy enough or anything yet to just be able to take that many bets. I think you're basically looking at absolute maximum a handful of tokens that I would even give a second look at. So, but yeah, there's a lot of people out there that want to do it. That's what the influencers do. You look at BitBoy, a lot of them have like 20 tokens in their portfolio. They're all, not to get into this whole thing again, but like heavily VC backed seed round type stuff, that they bought for pennies on the dollar. So
yeah,
you just have to
or
be
we're
leery.
given free and paid to talk about it. So that's another thing that you
Exactly.
got to really watch out for. Know who's talking about it, and were they paid to promote it to you so that they could dump it on your head later.
Hey, don't diss that too much because I just got that offer for that MEXC or MEXC exchange right
I
before we
saw
went on the
that.
air. So I
Yeah.
might have to take that business there. So
Well,
um,
they listed Hex, I believe, on
they
MEXC.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they did, and I think Earmuffs Zen actually was on there. I think that was the first exchange it was on back when it launched. I heard. So yeah, some interesting stuff there, but just kidding. Won't be taking any kind of deals like that, obviously. But
Good.
anyway, this was a good topic we wanted to get
Yeah.
into, and we will broach it again when the market really does heat up. It's important to understand when to take profits for sure. And hey, we've been talking since we've been blue in the face about when to buy whenever things are scary.
Right.
Shouldn't be much
Well,
of a challenge at this point.
people haven't listened to us. Well, some people have. Some people have been
Yeah.
buying this time. There's a lot of people that don't listen. They think it's going to go lower. I know. I know Johnny talks about it all the time. He's like, we were telling people at 2 cents, and they were waiting for a penny, and now they're never
Yeah.
going to see a penny again. So
Yeah.
it goes up to 5 cents, and they're like, oh well, I'll wait till it dips back down to that 2.5 cent. Well, that never happened either. So the ones that are DCAing in during those times, like you said, you and I both know a lot different. It's easier to buy in the dips and have when you have faith in something like that. Um,
Yeah.
whereas there's a lot of people out there that have that psychological barrier where they just can't do it. Is it going to go lower? Is it going to go lower? I'm afraid to buy. Um,
Mhm.
so I get it on both sides, but
And that's a good point too that you just reminded me of is like how many people were still calling for, and it's not like they were far off, but like 1 cent hex. There was
yeah,
plenty, if you remember,
oh yeah,
half a penny hex. There was a lot of people talking about it going under a penny. And just remember, like this goes in both directions. When it's super bearish and super bullish, the max pain or max euphoria result that a lot of people are talking about never comes. Like the half-cent hex, the 1 penny hex never came. 1.5 was probably the level up above that, and you could basically say we hit that, I guess. But just right now, preparing for the next bull run, you're going to hear 250,000 BTC. Hell, you heard it actually the last time around by a couple of people, I think.
Yeah.
We're not going to get to 250,000 BTC. I mean, I could say that with some confidence here at this point. And that would, that could also mean we're not going to get to $5.50 hex either, which that's just the most bullish scenario. I mean, and you won't hear that in droves until, hex is at, a couple bucks or something like that.
Right.
But just remember, like those crazy scenarios that you do hear rarely come true. And if you're starting to hear more and more people say it, get the hell out of the market. Like just the other day, I don't know what this Pepe token is or whatever it is the other day, but apparently it went way up and it was up like 6,600%. And I had been hearing about it, whatever it is, some meme token. And then after I had been hearing about it and how much it was up, of all people, I saw Altcoin Daily tweet out something like, so what's up with this Pepe token? And you're like, right there, it's like, sell. Everything you have, sell. Get out of here, And it's, of course, way down since then. But yeah, I mean, that's just, once you're here, even 6 months, I think you'll be able to like discern those things. That's just kind of the way this market goes. So,
sure.
That was a good conversation, though. And I think that pretty much wraps us up. Ewok, do you have any kind of final thoughts you want to leave everybody with?
Well, I don't know what you're doing next week, but I won't be here for the Wednesday night stream. I don't know if you're going to have one or not. That'll be up to you. But I will be back in 2 weeks and for our 50th episode.
Correct. It will be episode number 50. Yeah, I am still deciding on what to do next week. We'll see if we whip out maybe a short stream or something like that. I will, let everybody know what's going on. But why don't you if you want to, why don't you let everybody know why you're not going to be here if you would like?
Well, the Hex Cruise, obviously, gonna take a little cruise with all the Hexicans down in the Bahamas and enjoy ourselves and get some sun and some nice camaraderie for the week. It should be a good time.
There you go. Maybe have a couple of libations and stuff like that. Have yourself a little bit of fun. Sounds like it'll be a good time. I will just be here alone and sad. And, I may whip some content together for everybody. But yeah, I mean, either way, the next time we are together, we will be, whoa, dog barking. We will be on episode number 50. So nice little accomplishment for us. Although we've been doing this for about a year and a half. Yeah, year and a half at this point. Yeah. But obviously got way more consistent in the last few months. So we're going to be here every week. So so we will see Ewok back here in 2 weeks. I will be back here next week. We'll figure out what we're going to do for that. Whatever I do, I won't call it episode 50 or anything. We'll save that for when Ewok is back. So
all right.
He'll have fun on the Hex Cruise, of course. But if you guys are new here, if you like this stream, liked what we talk about, we try to talk about some evergreen stuff there for you at the end. Hit the like. We very much appreciate it. Sub to the channel. We think you're going to like what you see, whether on, Broke Boi Crypto channel or Crypto Ewok. And yes, we will be here again. Well, I anyway should be here next week. Same time, same channel, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll definitely be back in 2 weeks' time for episode number 50. Where we'll probably review the new FOMC meeting taking place on May 2nd or something like that. And we're going to have another rate hike or whatever. We'll see what those clowns are doing at that time. But for Crypto Ewok, this has been Broke Boi Crypto. We'll catch you next week right here on the Creed of Crypto podcast.